Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is the Dawnbringers, The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, Season 6, Episode 8. This is Every Frog Has Its Day. I noticed you had you were muted for the usual pre-stream or intro stream giggle, but I also understand why. We are... as you can notice from the lower right corner, we are without Jeremy to play Talmud tonight, but he will be with us in spirit, and who knows, maybe he'll pop in the chat later tonight. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Hey, couple of quick announcements, and we will get things rolling here. First and foremost, let me make sure I don't forget to give you a domain die. Domain dice are a way that you, the viewers, can have an impact on the game simply by subscribing, resubscribing, gift subs, $5 tips, and 500-bit cheers, Ko-fi, tips and memberships. All that good stuff earns domain dice for the players that they can use for rerolls and making me reroll and out of rest healing and turning those tragic death saving throw fails into successes. And of course, everybody's favorite, the Patron's Blessing, 5 domain dice to turn a hit into an automatic super crit, which is double max damage. And I think we've mentioned it here before, but just in case we haven't, surprise, you can also use 5 domain tomes if you're in a situation where it's not a combat situation or you're not looking to super crit something. 5 domain tomes can be spent to sort of basically take narrative control for an epic moment, to turn a something you want to do with a dice roll, maybe to turn that into this epic story success kind of thing. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about how to spend those 184 domain dice that you have sitting up there in the corner. Another thing worth mentioning, well, I think it's worth mentioning. Actually, before I talk about the other thing I was going to talk about, I do want to mention, of course, looking right up here, Dawnbringers is sponsored by Session Zero Clothing. We are excited and honored to be partnered with Session Zero Clothing. Nope, I keep doing that wrong. See, Jeremy, when he's here, he's usually the one that's putting all my chat commands in. Session Zero Clothing, they offer a selection of nerdy t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, sweatshirts, jackets, hats, and accessories for your next Session Zero. If you follow that affiliate link in the chat and then use code MTD0 when you check out, you'll get 10% off of your order and help support the channel. Check out all of their cool new t-shirts and hats and stickers, all kinds of good stuff they got there. As warmer weather starts to become a possibility, at least where I'm at in Michigan, tank tops are a thing people like to wear. So keep that in mind as well. The other thing I was going to talk about that I think is kind of cool is I recently published a Calendar of Harptos Adventure Journal. It is a form-fillable PDF, nearly 400 pages, a calendar at the glance. There are a full Faerunian calendar is in there with all the months, lunar cycles, festivals, and there's some quick reference form-fillable character sheets in there. Whether you're a DM or a player, I think you'll find it incredibly useful. I know a couple of my players have started to use it.
I have it, and it is awesome.
Thank you. I use it for my Scribes of Scrolls campaign because the calendar is critical. Well, the lunar cycles are critical to our storylines. And I found it immensely helpful. You can pick that up at that link at DM's Guild for $4.99, or you can stick around because during our break today, I will be giving away a copy to one lucky viewer. So keep an eye out for that. Of course, we are also sponsored. The entire channel is sponsored by our friends over at Talon and Claw. Makers of fine wooden gaming accessories such as DM screens, dice vaults, dice towers, trays, and more. They're in I believe, the final phases of their Kickstarter for the Heroes Vault or Adventurers Vault. I forget which they call it. Adventurers Vault?
Adventure, I think.
And it's a Heroes Vault with a rolling tray, and there's an Adventurer's Journal, character's journal that they've partnered with 1985 Games. Just pencil, yes, hand-turned pencils, all kinds of great stuff. They make incredible stuff. Mine are over here. I know Katie's got a bunch of their dice vaults as well. But you can use code MTDClaw and get 10% off your order when you check out their Etsy shop. It was just announced Tuesday that this coming Tuesday is going to be Arc 2 of Dreadful Tales over on twitch.tv/fortnerd.com with Gary from the Scribes and Scrolls. And that arc of there's 2 DMs, multiple players. We're crossing narratives and across multiple arcs. And I am DMing the next 6 episodes in the Mists of Ravenloft in these Dread Tales adventures. So you'll want to tune in on Tuesdays. We are pre-recording because I know Em was sitting there going, "Wait, Tuesdays? You're accounted for." We are pre-recording those adventures when we need to, and keep an eye on fortnerd.com to see what the release schedule is on that. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about before we get into the game is, of course, what we always talk about, that moment we take before we slip into make-believe and pretend and have fun for a couple hours, is just to take a moment and recognize that maybe there's people out there, maybe you're one of them, that is struggling with something. And we want to let you know that it's okay to struggle. It's okay to not be okay. But we want you to know, above all else, that you matter. Your presence here on this earth makes a difference. Whether or not you believe it, it's true. And we want to make it so that it's okay to talk about these kind of things. We're just doing our part to help destigmatize the conversations around mental health. And also to make it very easy, if you are somebody who is with us watching, or if you're listening to this later watching it, that during our live shows here in the chat, you can type !help. That will bring up a little message followed by a URL. That URL is findahelpline, all one word, .com. Incredibly helpful, useful website, super easy to use. Bookmark it for yourself, bookmark it for a friend. It's as easy as typing in where you are located in the world. That's it. Hit enter, and numerous help services, phone numbers, text numbers, websites, all of that stuff will pop up, and you will be able to begin finding whatever that help is that you might need, because as we said, you matter. With that, I think it's time to play some Dungeons and Dragons.
Squee!
So, let's see. In our most recent adventure, the party has... There we go. In our most recent adventures through the land of Heather in the Feywild, the Dawnbringers have met the delightful little goblin girl by the name of Jingle Jangle, who was missing some things, most notably the silver key that was needed to free Sir Televar, the violet fairy dragon, from his silver cage. Also, their truffles. They were hiding out at Telemy Hill because they had been harassed by one Agdon Longscarf, a Harengon brigand leader. And Jingle Jangle told them where they could find Agdon Longscarf. Upon reaching the Brigand's Tollway, a series of boardwalks located around a massive tree stump, they found a mysterious stranger in their midst, and quickly realized it was this Agdon Longscarf, who himself realized very quickly that he and his brigands had bit off much more than they could chew with the Dawnbringers, as they put the smackdown on him and his brigands. He invited them up to the top of the tree stump, where they were able to free Sir Televar. They were able to get some rest, learn a little bit more about some things that are going on here and hither, most notably the hag Bavlorna Blightstraw, who lives in a place called Downfall, and get directions to that. Also, they discovered, I believe it was Arnold, one of the survivors of the Evangeline disaster, who had been magically teleported for safety to the Feywild by Evangeline. And he is currently making sure that Agdon stays in his place while they see to doing what they can to get answers and try to figure out what's going on with Evangeline. And that's where we are going to pick up in this space, sort of either in the night or the next morning after you have all rested. Everybody has gotten a long rest. Also, Sir Televar indicated a fairy dragon brooch that Cantriel had that she was not aware that she had, which allowed her to basically summon Verde, who had a little bit different of an appearance here in the Feywild, but is now accompanying all of you as well. So, waking up after a restful night 30 feet above the surface of the swamp in this tree stump in the brigand hideout of Agdon Longscarf, Dawnbringers, what would you like to do?
Rollo will kind of roll over. She's, as usual, she's kind of curled up on Cantriel's hair right next to her neck, and she kind of rolls over and snuggles in a little closer.
Rollo does not want to have to get up. Can we just stay here?
Yes. You know what? Yes.
Rollo like this plan.
So do I, quite frankly.
What we have to do today?
Oh, we have to probably see a hag about some problems that we have with her.
Oh, right, Frog Lady.
Yes.
Yes, Rollo suppose we should do that.
It might be helpful. Mm-hmm. You slept well, though?
Rollo got good nap, yes. I have a question.
What
Before
is the
everyone
question?
else wake up,
Yes.
do you think being little kid drowned was good for drown?
Between us?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Rollo noticed that he's more laid back.
Oh, I've noticed a few different changes.
He used contractions.
Exactly.
I
He's
think
actually-
it's good for him.
I do too.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. But don't point it out to him in front of everyone else, just in case he clams up again.
Okay. We should probably wake everyone up.
Yes, why don't you and Verdi do that?
Okay.
So, just out of curiosity, who is this?
Verdi is the little green fairy dragon that Cantriel has had that she thought she left in Icewind Dale.
Oh, okay. I need to retcon what Rolo says then. When you mention Verity, Rolo's eyes get huge, and she kind of shrinks in on herself.
Rolo can handle it by herself.
Why don't you want to work with Verdi?
Verity is dragon.
Yes, little dragon. Fun little dragon, snaggletooth dragon. Smaller
Rolo,
than you.
Rolo not worthy to work with dragon.
Yes, you are. You work with me. I'm a dragon in some shape or form.
You do have dragon touch.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think Rolo get eaten, do you?
By Verdi, no.
Okay. Rolo will work with Verity. Because you ask nice.
Lovely.
Okay.
She kind of looks over at Verity.
Little
Ver-
fairy.
You go that way, Rolo go this way.
Verde looks at you, and Cantriel, you notice this mischievous glint in Verde's eye as Verde just goes, "Rawr."
I will put you back in the pit. Get back in the pin. Back in the pin. Yep.
Rolo
promise-
goes like
I promise to
scampering over
behave
to drown.
myself. I'll
That's
behave
your one
myself
warning.
this time. I
One
just had to
warning.
do it the one time.
Rolo scampers over to drown and kind of bounds over his body, like runs up his body from his leg to his chest and pounces on his face and grabs his cheek or his cheeks.
Drown! Drown! Drown!
Morning, Rolo.
Good morning. I'm sorry. I almost got eaten by dragon.
Wait, there's a dragon? And he kind of like half stands,
Rolo was falling
spinning
over.
around. Nope, like catches her,
Oh,
looking around. Where
there's
is it?
no dragon.
The only
Well,
dragon you
there's
see
Verdi.
is Verde,
Oh, right.
who just kind of looks over at the two of you and goes,
Rolo scampers behind Drown's head.
Pin.
Basically clings to his
Fine.
ears.
You're all right. You're okay.
I saw that.
Verdi.
I don't have to look at you to see that. Get back in the pin.
Verde
Verdi
flies
wouldn't and can't hurt you.
Verde flies as far away from you, Cantriel, as he can over to Fig, who probably isn't even sleeping.
Figdo does this thing where I like to imagine that he like contracts his arms and his legs, so he's just a body that just that's his version of sleeping. So he's just like these like tiny hands as he looks up at Verde.
It's time to get up. It's a brand new day.
You see Fig just kind of expand all of his limbs and stands up fully and nods to Verde. I would almost imagine that he also stretches, which he doesn't need to, but he's seen Drown and Thorgarn and all of them do it every time in the morning. It's like stretch, so he like extends his like limbs out a little bit extra long and then back and looks up to Verde and thank you. That was a refreshing evening.
It's probably worth noting that Drown wasn't asleep or anything when Rolo came bounding
Oh.
over to him.
Okay.
He's habitually awake an hour or two before dawn, and dawn is fuzzy here. But so he was probably awake, but just sort of off on a other side of the camp or wherever they're sleeping.
Okay.
As soon as you get,
Dawn is a very early riser / kind of stays up through the night a lot of times.
Okay.
So, what is the plan today? Are we going back to the goblin? Are we heading off to the hither or the
Talk to
thither?
Hag.
I think we're heading to Downfall.
How are we getting this key to the goblin?
That's
Didn't we say that we were
bring
gonna-
it back.
And their truffles too, right?
Sure. How far away was Jingle Jangle from the stump?
probably an hour or two.
Oh, that never mind. Yeah, we can do a 2-hour round trip. That's fine.
And Arnold would actually offer as well. If you need something run out to, if we need to run this stuff to Jingle Jangle, I can take care of it.
Do you
If you wish
think
to
she'll-
proceed.
I mean, if you're an associate of brigands, you've already been spooked once.
Do you think Jingle Jangle would recognize you as one of the gang, or since you're not a rabbit, you'll be all right?
Not being a rabbit is probably the best thing I have going for me concerning Jingle Jangle.
Well, then why don't we write a note and you can take that along with the...
It will be good for me to smooth things over on behalf of the brigands with Jingle Jangle. There are
Weird sentence, but all right.
rules and expectations here in Prismere that have been allowed to go by the wayside in the absence of Evangeline. I'm only beginning to learn of some of these things myself, and there are things that need to be done to make right with Jingle Jangle for what Agdon has done to her. Are you aware of the rules of conduct here in Prismere?
No.
I don't think so.
Would probably be for the best to let you know what I've learned. You can see, as represented by our friend here, and you'll notice that Agdon Longscarf is still seated on his throne. He is still tied up by his scarf, the way you tied him up, Thorgarn. But somebody has also wrapped pieces of the scarf around his mouth to keep him from talking. And as you look over, you just hear this muffled... Yes, you can see how Agdon and the others have taken advantage of the leniency of the Hourglass Coven. There are 3 rules in Prismere. The rule of hospitality. When a friend, an enemy, or a stranger enters your home, you are expected to be gracious and accommodating to them until such time that they prove by their words or action to be undeserving of such hospitality. The rule of ownership. You must not steal from a friend, an enemy, or a stranger. Take something that doesn't belong to you without the rightful owner's permission is a crime and an unforgivable breach of etiquette. And the rule...
Look at the Harangon as he's saying this, and just kind of like...
Oh yeah, Arnold is absolutely kind of, as he's saying this, he's kind of looking over at Agdon as of sort of punctuation. And the third and final rule is the rule of reciprocity. When a friend, an enemy, or a stranger offers you a gift, you are obliged to accept it and offer something of comparable value, be it a gift or a service in return. Such reciprocation does not have to happen immediately, but there is an expectation that it will happen. You, by the rules of reciprocity, you have given me the promise of my freedom, and so I will pay you back in kind by delivering these items and smoothing things over with Jingle Jangle.
These are very good to know. Thank you.
Somebody roll me a D100, please.
$97.
Ooh.
Okay. Rolo.
Yes.
When you go over to wake up Talmud,
Mhm.
you notice that Talmud's bedroll at first appears to be empty.
Talmud?
And Rolo scampers into the bedroll. And it kind of like a dog or a cat burrowing into a sleeping bag. She scampers in there and starts sniffing around for him.
And it has that look of like he was there and then he wasn't, because the covers still sort of hold that shape and there's still an indent in the pillow or whatever.
Okay.
But when you go down inside and start sniffing around, what you find instead is a 6-inch tall figure of a chess piece that is a knight. It is carved in the likeness of a dwarf wielding a massive maul riding on the back of a war goat. And the carving is immaculate and intricate and 100% obvious that it is Talmud.
I'm going to cast Identify on this.
There is definitely transmutation and enchantment. There's a little bit of a mixture of schools, and it just reeks of the Feywild. And there's just a hint of a non-traditional school of magic called DM Fiat.
Okay.
That one's tricky, School of Magic, huh?
Yeah.
Rolo holds up the figurine.
Where'd you find that?
This was in Talmud's bed. Rolo's thinking Talmud.
Oh God. Let me.
And she hands it over.
Cantriel probably takes one look at it with her stupid perception. She's like, "Yep."
Yep. And Rolo, your Identify would basically tell you that this is a figurine of wondrous power that is essentially Talmud. That if you get into a situation where you need to summon Talmud's abilities, you can do so. But otherwise, you can carry them around in your pocket or whatever you want to do with them.
Into the pocket he goes. Actually, Fig.
Should Thorgarn carry him?
I was going to say, Fig, do you want to put this in your hat? Might be better if you carry Talmud around again.
Big takes his hat off, takes Talmud, puts him on his head, and then puts the hat on, and then takes the hat off, and it's gone. And then he does like the jazz hands. He's like, ta-da.
Oh, Fig, you special magic.
I just imagine either your simulacrum or Hermes has just automatically starts doing the assistant thing as you are presenting it.
No, both. They're on either side.
I was inspired by Mr. Witch and Mr. Light, and I have decided I would like to be a performer, as Fig just holds his hands up.
Rolo claps.
Rolo, did
incredible.
you learn how we can undo that by any chance?
No, Rolo, not near that.
Okay.
Maybe if we call on him, he show up.
Or maybe just let the Feywild be the Feywild and he'll probably pop out of it soon enough.
Also very possible.
This place does not like to keep us together.
It doesn't like to keep itself together, so no.
Well, you're the expert here, Cantriel.
Yes, welcome home.
I'll just keep sighing and keep trying to do what I do.
So we head out?
I think we're ready.
Well, I think we need to make sure that we thank Arnold for taking the message to Jingle Jangle.
Yes.
So, yeah, we thank Arnold, and I think then we head out.
All right. Well, Arnold and the other Harangons have, true to their word from the night before, they have provided you with 2 skiffs that are capable of carrying your entire party across the water. Arnold warns you that once you move in closer to the what's left of the Queen's Causeway, and he sort of indicates in the direction of where that sort of raised road you first appeared on, the waters will remain at high level at that point, which means they could be anywhere from 5 to 20 or 30 feet deep in places.
I'll ask Arnold, are the skiffs in reciprocity for the attack yesterday, or do we have to I don't understand this whole...
The skiffs are not a gift. They are on loan.
It's still a service. It's still a thing. I don't want to be beholden to them.
That is understandable and a fair concern. If you would like, I can send a couple of them with you, and when you arrive, they will take the skiffs back with them. There will be nothing to which to be beholden.
Or we can just buy them.
You could do that if you wish. I will sell you
fine
these
either
skiffs for a copper piece each.
Helen no have money.
Oh, I've got plenty of coin.
Be warned. People here in the Feywild, and in Prismeer in particular, they very rarely deal and trade in coin.
Right. Memories and the like.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I wouldn't mind being out of the noggin, but it's absolutely bizarre to know that there's something missing.
I suspect you'd be giving up more than you realize.
You keep that cautiousness about yourself, and you'll do all right here. But hopefully for not too long. I will not make it a secret that I would like to go home. I wish you good luck, and I do hope you find the others safe and are able to deliver them as well. And with that,
We head out?
you are free to head out as you begin. Who is going to drive these skiffs. Essentially, the way you sort of move with these skiffs is there's long paddles that also serve as rudders that can either dip down into the water and push on the ground, or can in deeper water can push. So one person has to stand and steer each skiff.
Rolo's going to fly.
Thorgarn would
Still
offer to drive if, strength is, any part of it. He's doesn't know how these things work, but is willing to give it a shot.
Okay. So Thorgarn on one and
Brown will do the other.
okay. You begin moving through this area in the direction you were told. Moving through tall grasses and reeds. Every time you grow closer to a thicket of grass or some sort of large lily pads, or even what looks like a dead tree sticking up out of the ground, you hear a splash and see ripples of something that has leapt into the water, or you'll hear a buzz as dragonflies or something else flies away. For a little while, Rolo, you are flanked by a couple of large-ish, but not giant size, just largish dragonflies that seem to buzz about you curiously as you're flying along. Cantriel, and really anybody who's keeping a close eye on the water would notice every once in a while what looks to be a shadow seems to move, something swimming near the surface, but just far enough out that you can't quite make out what it is. In the shallower waters, you'll see the sudden stirring cloud of this mud that something at the surface sort of took off. At one point, you were pretty sure you saw the snout, eyes, and ridges of an alligator not far off. It is foggy. You're finding that, especially as you travel along further and further, the fog is growing thicker to a point where you cannot really see more than 20 feet in front of you. So your forward progression, its mysteries being revealed at every step of the way as you're not quite sure what lies ahead in the fog. I would like yeah, see how this goes real quick. Rolo, where are you in relation to the skiffs as you're flying around?
I'm probably like 10 feet ahead of them,
Okay.
up about 10, 15 feet off the ground.
Okay. Ten to 15 feet. Okay. So make me as you're flying around, I want you to make me a perception check.
You said it's foggy, so it's not real sunny, right?
Nope, the sun never really seems to rise fully here, at least that you've seen.
I'm gonna re-roll.
Okay.
I'm gonna re-roll again. I'll stick with the 9. That's
All right,
the highest
well,
roll I got.
Cantriel, with with her ridiculously high perception, will see this happen as suddenly about 10 feet in front of you and about 10 feet up in the air, you see Rolo with these wings that have become like butterfly wings, just sort of flitting about, the dragonflies sort of swirling by. And then, Cantriel, you see movement off to the right side in front from one of these lily pads as a green blur leaps off the lily pad and bites onto Rolo. That was a natural 20. So, Rolo...
Re-roll that.
Oh, okay. We'll re-roll that nat 20 and get a 17, which is a dirty 20.
Still not a crit.
It's not a crit.
Non-crit, thank you.
So that does save quite a bit on the damage. You're going to take 3 points of piercing damage as a giant frog has just grabbed you out of the air. And I would like you to make a athletics or acrobatics check as you are caught in its mouth.
16.
What does it look like as you just get out of this frog's mouth before it sinks into the water with you as its treat?
The frog comes up and as the mouth is kind of coming around and closing over Rolo, she goes no, 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 and takes out. Let's see, what do I have? She takes out a small knife and just holds it in front of her so that the mouth comes down to close, and it kind of stabs into the roof of the mouth, and it opens back up just on reflex, and Rolo flies out and beelines for Cantriel.
As you see this white and monarch winged blur come flying at you, Cantriel, you all hear and see this big splash and see some ripples head off into the weeds, and then just the little bit of the head and these blinking amphibious eyes just that sort of go blink this way and then this way as they watch as you all pass by.
Cantriel's ready to shoot.
It's in range and you can see it if you want to take a shot at it.
Okay. Yeah, she's gonna shoot off a couple rounds of Sempre Cavatina, and as a bonus action, she's gonna activate her Slayer's Prey. Now she's got that. So that's an extra D6 of damage. She pissed.
She not messing around.
She pissed. Yeah. So that's going to be a 29 to hit.
What was that, Dan?
I was saying, how big is this frog?
It's if Talmud was a little plumper and green and amphibious, it's probably dwarven sized. It's a medium sized,
5-ish feet, medium sized.
Yeah,
frog.
it's a good sized frog.
Got it.
This thing would have swallowed Rolo.
Yep.
So yeah, 29 15. Will absolutely hit.
15 piercing.
15 total.
Yep, 15 total on the first shot, and then she'll go around with a second shot. Hold on, I just gotta remember if it is. I think it's only the first. Nope, that's both attacks. Okay, and then second one is going to be a 23 to hit.
Yeah.
And that is going to be a total of 13 piercing.
Okay. So this frog barely gets in the water, and Rolo, this happens so fast. Before Rolo even gets to you to seek refuge, you've already drawn your bow and fired these 2 shots at it. And you see both of them hit this frog as it sort of tumbles backwards in the water. And then you see movement all around it as about a half a dozen more giant frogs all just and just they start moving as quickly and as far away from you as possible.
Good.
Rolo is behind Cantriel, kind of clinging to the back of her clothes, and Rolo's little head just sticks up over Cantriel's shoulder.
Yeah!
And ducks back down.
How about from now on, you just stick close?
Rolo like that idea.
So do
A
I.
lot.
You okay there, Rolo?
Yes, I believe I am tasty.
You know, we wouldn't have let them get away, right?
Rolo, I appreciate that. It would have been unfortunate if Rolo had been swallowed and had to fireball from the inside.
That'd have been one crispy frog.
Rolo think it good eating.
Shame it got away then.
Yeah.
As you continue along through the foggy, boggy, soggy swamp, the you see most of the amphibious critters keeping their distance from you. The fog is still thick, but you realize a bit of a shadow falls over you as you follow the currents, and you see as you pass within about 15 feet of one of these stone pillars that marks one of the supports of the Queen's Causeway above. As you pass through this massive arch high enough that you can't see through the fog where the actual causeway is. You emerge on the other side and you realize that you are now traversing a little bit of a winding river, and the current has picked up just a little bit. You're still moving gently along. After just a few moments, you see that the sides, the banks of this river, which is just really boggy wetland, a few trees here and there, you catch sight of a dock off to the left, and you realize that this little river is opening up into a much wider area. Within this space, you see there are more of these giant lily pads, and you see that, or rather you hear the sounds of the swamp around you and the croaking of the frogs has sort of changed a bit, and you realize you are hearing quiet voices ahead of you. And you just begin to make out a couple of dark shapes emerging in the fog. And you hear a gentle splashing. And you see, appearing out of the fog, 2 rowboats with what appears to be 4 bullywugs, 2 in each of the boats. They're just rowing along, and they are dressed in what they are dressed in appears to be very frilly collars, puffy sleeves, very royal accoutrements, but also very soiled. What you would expect from clothing in a swamp. As they move closer, you see that they sort of pull, the 2 that are rowing in each of the boats, they sort of pull up their oars, and one of them kind of waves over to you. Hello, welcome, Drownfall, travelers.
Hello.
Rolo muted. Hello!
Oh, you are new to Downfall, are you not?
Indeed.
You've
We are.
not seen any of you here before. Now, King Gullup the 19th would be honored to make your acquaintance.
A king?
Yes. King,
Well, I'm not dressed to meet king.
you are perhaps right, but nonetheless, King Gullup the 19th will take your audience.
Okay.
And Rolo kind of turns around and looks at everybody.
Okay, right?
You'll want to park your skiffs over there at the docks. You're going to need to make your way across the stepping stones, through the balloon factory, and across the bridge of Chattering Heads, and you'll find the gazebo where King Gullup the 19th holds court. He will be most pleased to take your audience.
Is there anything about the way he's speaking or the word choice that that's off or just doesn't seem trustworthy?
You can roll an insight check if you want.
About a 25.
He seems like a friendly old feller from down in the bayou that's just telling you where you need to go now that you're in their town.
I mean, I know that, the Arnold gave us the rules, but I don't know how well that completely applies to the locals and what have you, because it apparently doesn't with the Harengon. And it's like, oh, we need these skiffs to get to where we're going, and we've got your skiffs, and we're going to try and take you kidnaps and all that stuff.
I can't imagine why you're all so suspicious and worried in the Feywild.
I'm a dwarf. That's all I gotta say.
So you you are able to, if you wish, to easily pull up to the docks and moor tie off your skiffs to the docks, if that's what you wish to do. They don't seem to be, the bullywugs don't seem to be doing anything more than just sitting there watching you. The docks are simple wooden affairs, a little bit algae covered, not so slippery that you'll fall at every step, but enough that you want to be careful. You notice when you moor your boats that right next to the dock, sort of in this little natural bay where you can see a boardwalk leading off through the bog, you see looming above this wooden pier, there's a balloon anchored by 4 thick ropes tied around wooden posts that are driven really deeply down into the mire. The balloon's bladder, you see it sort of, and then it goes, it starts to lose air, and then
How big is it? Is it like a child's balloon or a hot air balloon?
oh, this is like a full-on gas balloon, like you saw Sir Tulliver crashing in.
Okay.
It looks just like one of these balloons. You see it is filling up with swamp gas and then leaking out through all of this patchwork fabric. Every time it sort of, you can see in random places where swamp gas is leaking out. There's a ladder that is leaning up against a very tall ladder leaning up against this balloon. There's a bullywug in bib overall standing at the bottom of the ladder, and another one up at the top who has a long silver needle and has coils of catgut around their arm as it sort of goes they identify one of the spots, and you can see him going, hold the ladder steady here, and starts, I said hold the ladder steady. I am holding the ladder steady. If I hold it any steadier, I don't know, it's just I can't do any more than this. And sewing in on it and says, all right, move it on over about 3 feet to your left. And you see the bullywug at the bottom just sort of picks up the ladder with the other bullywug at the top and very precariously takes a few steps off to the side, and you just see this, and then boom, up against the balloon. And as it fills with gas, and they just seem to be working on this balloon. There are nearby, around the base of this, there's about a half a dozen giant frogs that are just sitting there and lazily are snapping up insects that fly by. One of them, as it snatches up a particularly large and juicy dragonfly, shifts and is just watching you as you move by, paying particularly close attention to the tiny butterfly-winged Rolo.
Rolo just kind of...
You're met with...
clings to the back of Cantriel's clothes.
What would you all like to do?
We're gonna go see the king, baby!
Yeah, follow the directions we were given, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
So you continue following along the passageway, which is basically just bits and pieces of lumber that are every couple of feet kind of sticking out of the muck, providing you with a safe place to step. After just a little bit, maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes, you come to a place where you're standing at the water's edge. You can just make out across the water. There is a wooden structure on the distant shore. And by distant, I mean it's only about 25 feet. But it's sort of shrouded in this fog. And there are several stepping stones that are very closely spaced that look to be the way you have to go to cross over this. Yeah. So that's what you see. Are you all just continuing across the stepping stones?
Rolo flies, but yeah.
Okay, Rolo's flying.
Did you say they were kind of slippery?
They're just about 2 feet apart. And at its widest, this place looks to be about 40 feet. They're a little bit wet, mostly from the fog. So yeah, they could be a little slick.
As long as they're not slimed or moss covered. Drown just kind of hops across them, almost like he's just sort of walking on steps.
Sure.
As
while you can go ahead and tell me as you're all walking across, but I would like everybody to roll a D100 for me, please. And then just go ahead, Fig. You can just put those numbers in the chat. That'd be fine.
I think as they're all walking and jumping from stone to stone, Fig says to the group, I don't think I have met a king, let alone a frog king. What do I do? What do we do? What manners are we to take? Customs. He starts just spitting out these words of...
How has Rolo ever encountered bullywugs before on her adventures?
I guess I'm going to leave that up to you because you spent a lot of time in Icewind Dale, but you were you were still pretty high level, having traveled with other adventurers for quite a while. So if you had any adventurers anywhere in swampy or watery type areas, you had a chance of possibly encountering them.
I'm going to say even I have, odd I haven't. And that's a 2.
Okay.
Okay, when you meet the king, you treat him like king. You you bow, you genuflect. You do all the things you do if you meet regular king. Cause Bullywug King is regular king, but he really like flattery.
You see Fig, as soon as Rolo has started talking, has taken out his notebook and is like writing this down, listening very intently to what you're saying. Yes. Oohs, ahs, and a bow. Okay.
Compliment his clothing and crown.
Clothing and crown.
Yes.
What if he doesn't have a crown?
Then
If he would ever-
compliment his noble head, which is all round and smooth, that it needs no adornment.
This is going to be fantastic.
Fig just, oh, yes. Round, big head. And, thank you, Rolo. That was very helpful. I like that I am planning for social interactions.
Well, I find it often good idea to prepare when being social.
Fig nods again.
And we will continue forward.
So, as you're all making your way across, and I just picture one of those classic wide-angle shots that's sort of static as we see each person sort of moving across, Rolo's flying by. I just imagine Hermes sort of getting on each rock and sort of landing and going tick, 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 and then taking a step and sort of teetering and falling forward so his left foot lands on the next step, and then takes about 3 or 4 baby steps on it to get to the next one. And as you're all progressing along, Drown, I believe you took off ahead of everybody else, easily walking your way across. You get 2/3 of the way across, and you step on one of these rocks, and it suddenly shifts under your feet and begins to rise upward. And you find yourself suddenly lifted about 3 or 4 feet up as the rest of you see the stone with Drown on it turn, and a crack forms in it and a couple other more cracks, and you see eyes open and a mouth as the water's cascading around, and it sort of looks up. Well, I never. Of all the inconsiderate, inappropriate things to do, walking on another person's head, while they relax in the cooling waters.
If you spend much time dunking in the waters next to the stepping stones, I don't believe you've never. And he kind of hops down to one of the other stones. My apologies. I didn't realize you were, relaxing.
Make a persuasion check.
All right.
To see if he accepts your apology.
Hey. We're going to domain dive that one. Hey, that's a nat 20, so that's 25.
Woo!
Very well. I will accept your apology, though I would have preferred it in song.
Noted.
Please take care where you step from now on.
Just out of curiosity, do you have any friends or relatives hanging out, chatting?
All of the rocks are my friends.
right.
Allow me to make it a little easier for you. And he sort of leans his head back and goes, just imagine Ludo from Labyrinth with this sort of harmonic sound, and all of the stepping stones begin to shift, and some of them are moving further apart. And for a moment, Thorgarn, you're a little concerned. You might not be able to make this jump now. And then in between each of the steps, another rock rises, and another, until a smooth, complete walkway has formed under all of your feet. And you find the rest of your passage across the water to be unimpeded.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated.
It is dangerous if you fall in these waters. Dark things want to claim their next meal.
My name is Rollo. What is your name?
My name is Caleb.
Hello, Caleb. It's nice to meet you.
Very well. And you see he's already sort of sinking slowly down below the surface of the water again. And just before his mouth sinks below, he just says, "You can go now." And he sinks back down, and even though you know he's there, he almost immediately blends in with the rest of the rocks.
Damn fault. So that was Caleb Brewer, I assume.
Yep. I actually picked that name out beforehand, but yes, it was a Caleb Doer named Caleb. As you're progressing along this next section of walkway, you do, in addition to this sort of ever-present underlying scent of decay that just permeates this swamp, and bits of the stagnant water and all of that sort of swampy smell, you also begin to pick up faint hints of... It sounds like somebody might be cooking somewhere. You're definitely smelling wood fire, wood smoke from somewhere up ahead. You see that the passageway, or rather the boardwalk, leads along the curving edge of the shoreline to a set of stairs leading up into a structure. It has cylindrical walls. There's a couple other round parts. The roof sort of comes up into a tapered section. Parts of it are sitting up on stilts over the edge of the lake. And the conical roof is made of thatch. And you see, as you get closer to it, near the apex of the roof, you see smoke, thicker, darker smoke curling up and blending in with the fog. All of the windows of this place are blacked out, and it's from here you smell this strong scent of burned wood. You also see, kind of leading up away from this and disappearing into the fog over the center of the lake, a clothesline is leading up from a corner of the building's exterior, and you just see just a variety of frayed and fading patchwork garments clinging to it, to wherever it leads off into the fog. There is you're sort of standing at the foot of a ramp that leads up into the building. And you can see that it looks as though there might be a lake access around the other side. There's a bit of a dock that goes there. And the door is up the ramp in front of you. There doesn't seem to be any other passageway around this other than through this building.
And is it just wood smoke we smell, or do we smell anything cooking or anything else burning along?
You just smell wood.
Fuel. Oh, okay. So it kind of just campfire smoke or whatever.
Yeah,
or just
that's what it smells like.
Okay.
Did you head on
Rollo
up?
will,
Yeah,
Rollo
if
will
it-
fly up and knock on the door.
That's the only way to go.
Perfect. Rollo, you fly up to this door, and as you knock, the door just goes, crumbles into ash, and falls away. And you find yourself looking into a large room that's about 15 or 20 feet in diameter, and the room is a charred mess. Hazy smoke is hanging all over scattered piles of burned and broken shelving mixed in with whatever else they might have contained. Wisps of smoke are snaking into the air from several spaces in this wreckage that are smoldering, and you can see little bits and pieces of burning embers. And you see that as you sort of look in there, you see a bullywug wearing a leather smock comes running into from a different part of the room, comes running in with a bucket of water, and you see him. He's kind of he doesn't run right towards one of the piles that's smoldering. He runs into the room, stops, and suddenly turns, and then he just kind of goes this way, and you hear him kind of croaking angrily, "Come here, you little bugger! Come here! And then he turns, and he throws the bucket of water, and Rollo, you just catch water right in the face as he suddenly looks up at all of you. Cantriel, you notice what he was chasing appears to be roughly about this big. It is a lump of coal that has a little tail that is on fire and tiny little soot black arms and legs and just little eyes blinking as it stops and watches the water go over its head and hit Rollo, and then it just turns, runs about 3 feet to the side, jumps up in the air, and lands butt first into a pile of wood that instantly goes and catches fire. The bullywug looks at all of you and says, "Don't just stand there. Grab a bucket. We have to make sure the fires are out." What do you do?
Roller is damp and cranky.
But she goes after a bucket.
There is a table off to the side that has a few buckets, a couple of which already have water in them.
Okay, I will grab a bucket.
Anybody else?
Yep, same.
Actually, Rollo tries to grab a bucket, but it's too heavy for her.
I absolutely could see that. You grab the handle of this bucket full of water, and you're just flapping your wings, holding onto the handle with your hands and feet, and it's just barely moving. And you see a couple feet away from you, Rollo, one of these little these coal sprites just kind of looking up at you and just kind of dancing back and forth on its hands, going as it touches its butt to the door frame, and fire starts to rise up. So
Rollo sticks her head into the bucket and takes a big mouthful of water and flies after the one that mocked her and spits the water on it.
okay, so what we're going to do, I'm not going to have you roll for initiative or anything, but anybody that wants to can either grab a bucket or apparently a mouthful of water, and you can attempt to put out one of these coal sprites that are causing fires to burst around the place. So, Rollo, since you took the first action, I'm going to, because you're spitting the water, weirdly, you're becoming like some kind of water breath attack dragon. I'm going to have it make a dexterity saving throw. It fails horribly. What does it look like when you squirt water on this coal?
Rolo basically goes and the water comes curling out and it splashes on the little sprite and it hits the sprite in the tush right where the flame is, and it begins running around in a circle, clinging to its bottom, and eventually it just kind of it runs in a circle about 3 or 4 times, and then it just freezes and falls over, kind of like a fainting goat, and just lays there with its arms and legs up in the air.
Perfect. Anybody else grabbing a bucket of water, trying to put out some coal sprites?
Yep, for sure.
All right, go ahead. For these, you'll go ahead and make a ranged attack using your dexterity modifier. So we can just, whoever's going to do it, just go ahead.
Just dex, no proficiency, or...
Do you have... I would grant you proficiency. I was going to say, do you have proficiency with water, Dan? Yes, you do.
All right, fair enough. Then that is 19.
19. If it is just dex mod, I got a 16.
Okay. Drown, roll a d6.
5.
How do you put out your lump of coal?
So Drown grabs the bucket of water and just sort of like watches where all these little things are scattering around. Then he sort of upends tosses the bucket up and catches it from the bottom and holds it almost like he's palming a ball and just like heaves it at the thing and sort of traps it under the bucket. And it just kind of burbles for a second. And there's a little hiss of steam, and then he knocks the bucket over and all the water and the soaked coal comes clattering out.
It just sort of skitters along the ground, this kind of spinning with its little arms limp. And then it lays there for a second, and you just see this tiny little stream of water go. And then it just goes. Unfortunately, Thorgarn, you miss yours on your first attempt.
I imagine the thing just kind of like, faints like it's gonna go left. I toss it, it jumps right, and then just does the whole dance in place, mocking me.
I love the giggle.
Fig, Cantriel, are either of you trying to put out fires?
I think I missed 2. I got a 14.
Yeah, what happens when you try to put out one of these sprites?
I think what happened is my simulacrum and Fig are like trying to sneak up on one with their little like cup of water that they have. But as they do so, it's like right in between them, I guess, on like maybe like a little piece of wood that comes out or something. And then they try and throw it, but the sprite just jumps away and they ended up just getting each other just drenched in water.
That's perfect. Perfect. And as you're standing there looking at each other, blinking, you just hear as Hermes is not running, but standing in place and is trying to stomp on this little sprite that you missed. And he's just, actually go ahead and make a, I'll do a dex check for the sprite to see if Hermes can crush it. No, it got a 19 on its dex check. So, yeah, it's standing there, and every time Hermes comes down with his foot, it's over here, and it just keeps moving around. And you notice after a moment that the floor under Hermes' feet is starting to set on fire. So it's hot-footing Hermes. Cantriel.
Cantriel is actually, she's sort of taking this all in. And she, debating if I want her to shoot one of them with her arrows just to scare the bejesus out of the rest of them. Yeah, I think she's going to try shooting at one of them just to see if it gets the message across.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So she'll go in.
Like, are you going to try to trick shot the flame off its butt, or are you just going to end this thing?
Probably try to, like, you know, yeah, maybe trick shot it. We'll see what happens. That is a 21 to hit.
Damn.
She's got this ridiculous hit now. It's plus 12.
Oh my god.
Believe it or not, that is a hit, but not by a whole lot.
Interesting. So then that would be 13.
Okay, how do you destroy this little coal sprite?
She probably is like this one. She's like, oh, for heaven's sakes. Like very Mary Poppins, like just annoyed and like spit spot and just pulls the arrow back and ping.
Cantriel takes absolutely no shit here at this point.
No.
Yeah.
Remember, Cantriel's from the Feywild. She knows
Yep.
what's up. You hit this coal sprite, and as your arrow strikes it, it just seems to sort of disintegrate into coal dust. And there's this little and for a moment you just see these little eyes blinking, and then they blink close and they disappear in the coal dust. And then you watch as half a dozen much smaller coal sprites kind of spring up out of the dust and start running around, but none of them are on fire, and they just all sort of scatter into the recesses. Has everybody had a chance to attempt to put out? So over the next few minutes, this little comedy continues. I'm not going to make you roll to put them all out, but suffice it to say, you're able to eventually either shoot or drown these little coal sprites and put them all out, much to the happiness of the bullywug here. After a few moments, the bullywug kind of looks around and he goes, well, I sure am glad you all came around when you did. This place has already gone up pretty good. I was worried the whole thing was going to just be gone because of those things. So, well, thank you very much. I assume you were all on your way to see King Gulp the 19th?
Yes.
Would be correct.
Yes.
So,
Hold on a minute.
What's going on here? Why are those things trying to burn you down?
That's what they do. They are animated coals. That's just kind of what they do. They've been putting up with them for a few days ever since those traitorous bullywugs took off with that little purple fairy dragon. They stole one of Bavlorna's balloons, and as a diversion, they set fire to this place. I was able to put the fires out, but the coals kept popping up. I think you got the last of them. And he's kind of looking through the wreckage of a desk as he says this. And
did Sir Tollivar come with us?
I think he said he was going to take off, and that's why he sort of presented
Right. That's right.
Verde as a guide, because he had no desire to come back here after having escaped.
Yep, that makes sense. Good deal.
The bullywug comes over.
To know if I needed to put a bucket over him real quick.
The bullywug comes over to you, and he's holding something in his hands, and he and first he sort of holds out his bullywug hand and says, name's Duke Ikrand, and I sort of take charge over the balloon factory here. make sure you head right on over there. You go through that door over there, across the bridge, and you'll come up on the Soggy Court. That's where King Gulp the 19th can be found. Present yourself before him. Take this. And he holds out to you a brooch that is shaped like a fly. It's made of brass. And these delicate brass wings, as he holds it out in his hand, they just sort of... he just holds it out to whoever will take it, if anybody wants it.
Sure.
Rollo
grab
will
it.
take it.
No, Rollo can grab it.
Okay, Rollo, you have the fly brooch, and he just says to you, now you make sure when you present yourself before King Gulp the 19th, wear this. It'll go a long way towards earning his trust. I'm sure that'll be good.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, I want to thank you for your help with... And all of a sudden, he stomps heavily on the ground. And he looks down and he carefully lifts his almost flipper-like foot. And you just see one little flattened coal sprite with its arms splayed out and its little eyes blinking. And he goes, for your help. And he puts his foot back down on where that sprite was. And that's where we're going to take our break. All right, well, thank you everybody who's tuned in so far. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and as promised, as soon as we get a break here, I'm going to kick off a raffle,
Booyah.
giving away one copy of my Calendar of Harptos Adventure Journal, available on DM's Guild now. So stick around. We will be back in just about 10 minutes. See you on the other side.
Butts.
And we're butts. And we're back.
I wasn't muted this time.
Right.
Nope.
Nope. All right. You all have just put out some animated sprites, and you were given a brass fly brooch by a Mr. Duke Ickrind, jeez. And he's just giving you directions to continue on along your way. Do you do so?
Before we would leave, I don't know whether I would nudge one of them to say something, with someone else in the party to say something, whether Thorgarn would just kind of out and out say it. But we have done you this service, and we take this fly thing and reciprocity. Just trying to make sure that it's clear that both parties get to walk away, slate cleared.
As you're sort of doing, I can picture exactly what you're talking about. Yes, we accept your reciprocal gift. He's just kind of looking at you like, yeah, that's pretty much how it works around here.
Yeah, Thorgarn. It's one of those things that kind of goes without saying. It's more when you don't do it that you're called out on it.
Oh, okay. I just trying to be careful.
I understand trying to be careful, just, you're good.
Be cool.
Excellent. Sorry.
Not from around here.
You don't say.
Your tourist is showing.
All right, we will head in the direction we are sent.
All right. You walk through a doorway that he indicates that leads you down a ramp into a smaller room, and you can see a doorway leading out of this onto a curving walkway that goes around the outer edge of this burned out factory, leads along the shore, and there you see a bridge that stretches another span of water. You can't quite see where it goes because of the fog, but this bridge looks to be very sturdily made, sitting on stilts raised up out of the water, and that is the direction you need to go. Who is taking the lead as you're walking across the bridge?
How wide is it?
The bridge is about a little more than 5 feet across.
So comfortably, probably no, it's like sidewalk length. We could go 2 by 2, right?
Yeah, you could definitely do that.
Yeah,
Thorgarn, unless we're like approaching, things that look like castle, Thorgarn would have no problems, taking front.
Did you say
Rolla
unless
will
you're
go on the
approaching
front
things
too,
that
since
look?
she's got the brooch.
Did you say unless you approach things that look like assholes?
Yes,
The
he did.
castle.
Oh, I
That
thought
is-
you said asshole
that-
too.
That's what I heard. I was just like, wow, throwing it right out there.
It just seemed very out of character for Ted and Thorgarn.
Yep, not talking to them assholes.
Those bullywugs look like D-bags. We're gonna move around them.
Wow.
What was the word you said?
Castle.
Castle.
Oh, castle.
Yeah, unless,
Very
if we're
different.
If we're approaching a throne, a castle, something that looks like, hey, royalty lives here, I'll take point and take whatever, surprise attacks might come my way. But when it comes to doing the talky stuff, as Thorgarn has clearly pointed out, that's not his bag.
Okay, so not an asshole, but something that could be filled with assholes.
Yes.
All right. So as you're all walking along this bridge, you hear this sort of it doesn't really carry very far in the fog and on the bridge, just this sort of hollow sound of your feet on the wooden planks. And then you begin to hear voices up ahead of you. And you hear one voice seems to sort of be leading all of these other voices. Most of the voices seem to be, you can hear these sort of croaks of, oh, you don't say. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah. The main voice you're hearing is saying, as you approach, you hear, oh, man. Agden Longscarf and his brigands took my head. They played keep away with it for a while. And now I have this. And you hear this, what sounds like, it sounds like coins rattling around in a bowl. And that's when you see the shape up ahead of you. Something is sitting on the dock in front of you, or on the walkway, and you realize it kind of looks, as it sort of emerges from the fog, you realize it's child-sized, very small, with an oddly tall head that has this sort of thick roundedness to it, and then another roundedness to it, its hands, which are sitting on the edge of the dock, are actually very large metal claws. As you realize, this is what looks to be some sort of a small scarecrow with metal claws and a gourd for a head. And it appears to be talking to several bullywug heads that are mounted on spikes in the water, sticking out of the water. And these are the things that are going, oh yeah, oh, that's terrible thing to happen to you. Oh, I've heard about that Agden Longscarf. He's a nuisance to be sure. Well, so that's what happened to my head. what do you guys do?
Do we say hello?
I think we should. That's the creature that Talmud described, right?
Okay. Hello there!
You just suddenly hear just this sort of just rattling sound as this thing suddenly, the claws in the air start clapping as it just kind of goes and it climbs up to its feet, and as it's shaking its head looking around, you hear the sound of several coins rattling around inside its head. Whoa, what is it? Who is there? Who's there? Who goes there?
Of the Dawnbringers! And these are the Dawnbringers!
That's us. You must be Clapperclaw.
I'm not, I'm honestly not sure how to react to somebody knowing my name. I don't know you. How do you know me?
We have a mutual friend.
You don't say.
Mm-hmm.
And that
We're on our way to see the king.
Ah, yes. The king. He will definitely want to have an audience with you.
Did you say that the rabbit folk brigands took your head?
Yes. On my way from... You see, I used to live in thither, and I escaped coming here. But as soon as I got through the mists to here, Agden Longscarf and his Harangon brigands waylaid me and took my head.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but we at least have some good news for you. There's a new leader of that particular group, and he's a friend of ours, and I'm sure he would be willing to return your head if they still have it.
Somebody has taken over Agden Longscarf's place?
Mm-hmm.
He's no longer in charge. Is he
As
still
of
alive?
A couple hours ago. He is.
I would very much like to pinch his head off.
Fair.
Were you at the Brigands' Tollway that they call home?
Yes.
Did you see a most glorious stag skull?
Jake, did we see a most glorious stag skull?
I'm going to say, because you had a lot of time there and you saw all of the various bric-a-brac that they had collected, you did not see the skull there.
Right. I don't recall specifically seeing it, but there was an awful lot there. So it's entirely possible it's still hiding. Or just in a room we didn't go in.
If you could see to it that I get my head back, as the rule of reciprocity dictates, I would be willing to show you how to get to thither.
Well, you beat me to it. We're absolutely going to need a guide, so that'd be wonderful.
I would be happy to do so.
Right. One most magnificent stag skull coming up as soon as we can manage it.
Now, does it have to be any stag skull or like the thing that was yours previously?
Please.
Pretty sure he wants his head back.
Please don't kill a deer just to give me a head.
I'm just making sure, because I'm not going to go off and kill something to give you a head, but if there happens to be a magnificent skull and we didn't know it was yours or somebody else's, is there a way to identify what? Is yours?
When you see it, I'm certain you will know that it belongs to me.
I'm comfortable saying we can worry about that if we happen to find multiple stag skulls. The Harengon's loot stash.
Well, I feel so very sorry and rude for not introducing you to my friends here. And he turns and gestures with a claw to all of the bullywug heads on the spikes. And you are greeted by several voices at once, a cacophony of bullywug voices saying things like, well, I thought he would never. That's the rudest. Always address your kings first, and your queens. As several of them begin speaking, and you hear, I am Oglith, Count of Bogbottom, Hofgunk, Pundflower Knight, Ribble the Green Baron, Muddlemud, Earl of Stinkwater. I'm Splop, the Duke of the Three Rocks. And this goes on for a few minutes as they're naming off all of their names.
So these are all previous Bullywug rulers.
Yes. At one time, we were all rulers of the Soggy Court.
Well, greetings. Is there a reason why your head's on spikes?
Well, whenever you find yourself in a position of leadership, there's always somebody that wishes they had your position, and the best way to do that and ensure that you can take their seat is to first take their head. Why, I took Splop's head here.
I can certainly follow the logic of that, but I don't understand going from the removing the head to heads mounted on spikes that talk.
Well, that is our fate. It is what we are destined for. If we can't quite cut it as the monarch of the Soggy Court, we get our heads removed and put on these spikes, where we are all sort of our own chattering court, as it were. King Gullop the 19th is an imbecile. You should know that before you meet him. He's weak. But I've heard tell that there's somebody else that's planning some sort of a coup.
Oh no!
Maybe you'll have a new conversation partner soon.
Oh, you never know. I was king for all of 27 minutes before I lost my head.
Wow.
That sounds very unfortunate.
Well,
How long is the usual reign?
King Gullop the 19th has been ruling for longer than anybody. I think he's up to 4 weeks now?
Go back.
And things have been in such an uproar ever since that Sir Talavar escaped from Bavlorna with the help of 2 bullywugs from the Soggy Court. Wugglewump has not been seen, but the other one is in the prison, waiting for trial.
What is the other one's name?
I don't know the name of every single bullywug here.
I just
Well,
figured he'd be important since he
we didn't
in
assume you
prison
did.
and help with shenanigans.
Right. Traitor, all that. Big news, big gossip. Someone's got to have heard it, right?
What's it worth to you? The name. If I give you the name, what is it worth to you?
Rolo.
Is there anything that you particularly need or want?
Well, I mean, I can't go anywhere, can't do anything but sit here and hold court on these pikes in the bog.
Want a nicer pike to sit on?
She kind of looks over this bullywug head. She kind of looks over at you, Thorgarn, and says, "What color are your eyes?"
Yeah, Thorgarn. What color are your eyes?
My eyes are blue, but they weren't always that way.
Blue.
Oh,
I
right.
would like the color of your eyes.
I don't think I can give that away.
They're already spoken for.
Rolo pulls out a book.
How about this? Something to keep you entertained.
And how exactly would you propose that I turn its pages?
You command someone to turn them.
Frog tongue.
Make a persuasion check.
Okay.
That's the smut book, isn't it?
It is, in fact, the book
Wait.
of erotic poetry. I'm gonna re-roll because
I forgot that book of erotic poetry's been knocking around ever since. I don't even remember how long. I don't remember where you guys got that.
Cantriel got it like
He's not gonna
season
take it.
1.
I got a 5.
Like the Sunless Citadel, wasn't it?
Yeah, Cantriel got a hold of it in one of the rooms.
Okay. You got a 5.
Yep.
What's the book about?
It's about body parts and moving and sweating.
Is this some kind of a workout book? Exercise?
In a matter of speaking, yes.
Hold it up and let me take a look at it.
Rolo will open to a page.
As
And
soon as you
hold it
open the book, several of the bullywug heads go. They just gasp loudly. I took my own breath away.
Ooh, it's illustrated.
I took my
did
own
not
breath away.
realize.
It's illustrated.
I just took a drink. Leave the book. Yes, just leave it right. No, leave it open to that page, please.
Okay.
Rolo props it up against a rock.
And then you hear as the bullywug starts like mumbling to themselves and starting to read, and you see several of the heads are sort of turning on the pikes and kind of leaning towards this book. They're all raptly paying attention to it. And then after a moment, this bullywug head goes, "Oh yes, reciprocity. Morgort is the bullywug prisoner."
Thank you very much.
Yes, you can go now. We would like to be left alone.
Understood.
And now, the book of erotic poetry, after nearly 120 episodes, is finally gone from your possession.
I'm a little sad about it, but
It's the Feywild. You never know when that'll turn up again.
yeah.
Let's see. I owe you a domain. Nope, a domain die. There you go.
Don't worry. There's always the chance to find the sequel.
Yes, I like the way you think.
It's a whole series.
This has been the lusty Argonian maid of this campaign.
Yeah.
Tusk Love. It's actually a book called Tusk Love.
I love it.
Katie, side
Yes.
note, if you've never looked at it, you should check out the enchantment magic spell book in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
Okay.
Or it's either enchantment or illusion. Check out one of those.
Okay.
Do you leave the bullywug chattering heads to themselves?
Oh, yes. I don't want to be there for what's happening.
Whatever it is, we will have a fog curtain close over that section as you continue on ahead. As you
ahead.
As you make your way across this bridge, soon you find yourself once again on soft, mushy ground, and you begin to see some pillars rising up out of the muck as you stand before a grand marble gazebo that is standing atop this mound of soggy earth. White stone has been streaked with green algae. The support pillars have sunken into the muck unevenly so that the dome of the gazebo is sort of tilted at an awkward angle. There's a set of short steps that ring around the gazebo leading up to a raised floor where bullywugs dressed in shabby clothing are lounging on pillows. Among them, a harpist is playing, sending forth delicate notes that are mingling with the murmured croaking of the gathered nobles. On a dais, a flabby bullywug is wearing a crown of woven lily flowers and sitting on an ornate throne with his legs folded under him. He has a large leather-bound book open across his lap and is mouthing the words as he reads on the pages. As you all approach, without looking up, you hear him say,
"Have you no herald to announce your presence before King Gullup the 19th?
And he slams his book shut. And all around him, these sort of sleepy monarchs sort of snap to attention and all begin looking as they all look over at you. And he says,
Well,
Oh, great king! We apologize for not doing this correctly. I am the herald of the Dawnbringers. I was so overwhelmed with your majesty. I was struck, unable to form words. But now, at your prompting, I have found my tongue. I am Rollo of the Dawnbringers. This is Cantriel of the Dawnbringers. Here is Fig of the Dawnbringers.
Big bows, followed by like the ooh ah at the beginning. He just ooh ah and then bows and stands and looks and says, "My king, your crown looks," and you can see he's kind of stopping and looking around. "It looks very fresh today." And he looks to Rollo and gives like a thumbs up.
Here stands Thorgarn of the Dawnbringers.
Greetings, Your Majesty. It's like, give a deep bow.
And this is the mighty Drown of the Dawnbringers.
Drown bows. Says, "We are honored to stand in your presence, Your Majesty."
As you finish, Rollo, he sits there quietly looking at you. As you were speaking, he reaches down and scoops up a small baby crocodile that is wearing a frilly collar of lace around its throat, and he's just stroking its head.
what do you think, Snoodle? Was that adequate?
and the alligator just sort of opens its mouth a little bit, and its tail thrashes a little, and he looks back at you, Rolo, with a very serious expression.
I like you, little one. I like you. Welcome to the court of King Gorp the 19th. And you are all of the Dawnbringers. What brings you to my mighty court?
Rolo looks at Cantriel.
Your reputation, of course.
Ah.
We heard of your grand kingdom and all it has to hold, and thought it would be a great idea to come and see for ourselves if the words and rumors were as true as they sound.
Yes, it is true. King Gullop the 19th's reputation precedes him.
And he kind of looks around at the courtesans gathered around him, and they pause for a moment.
Courtiers.
Courtiers.
Or, what did I say?
Courtesans.
Courtesans.
The royals gathered around him, and there's a pause, and then they.
Oh, yes. King Gullop the 19th. Yes, King Gullop the 19th.
And
very well. You've adequately conducted yourself with a measure of kindness that I shall reciprocate. While you are here within Soggy Court, how may King Gullop the 19th be of service to you? Or how might you be of service to the king?
Well, have you had problems with
And Rolo looks around and kind of steps forward slightly.
a hag?
hushed whispers fill the space around you as you say that.
What do you, strangers to this, to Downfall, know of the problems with the hags? What do you know?
You are not the only ones who have been beset upon by her hagginess.
Go on.
We have come in hopes of putting an end to her reign of terror.
Hush. I would not speak such things so loudly.
Reign of terror and misery.
What my little friend is trying to say is that we recognize the fact that you have the ability and know-how to rule such a wonderful kingdom as such, that you should be able to do so freely and without cause for concern or worry.
It is renowned that your majesty's rule is the longest and greatest of any in the history of Downfall.
I would like the three of you who have been speaking to make either persuasion, performance, or deception checks, as you will, for your flattery.
The 27 for Cantriel.
I'm convinced at this point that you have dice that just have all 20s on them.
No, because she has a 14
Right.
in persuasion.
I mean, you guys are all what, level 14?
Yeah. Drown has a 13.
Okay.
I rerolled twice, but I got a 12.
Okay.
Well, it is good to hear that King Gullop the 19th's reputation extends beyond the Soggy Court. There are some who have begun to question my ability to lead. What with Sir Talavar stealing one of Bavlona's prized balloons and escaping, with the aid of members of my court, no less, people have begun to question my ability to manage a crisis.
We have heard no such questions. Only praise of your just and noble rule.
Well, this book would say otherwise.
And he holds up a book that, I mean, this thing kind of looks like a high schooler's slam book. It's got like scrawled across it says Bavlorna's Big Book of Bad Blood.
It's a burn book?
Yeah, it's a burn book.
It's a burn book.
And he says,
within the pages of this book, Bavlorna's displeasure with her enemies is spelled out in detail. I was gifted the book from a darkling merchant who procured it from Bavlorna just a few scant hours ago. But I'm very eager to not evoke Bavlorna's ire anymore. If you are wishing to speak with her, whatever it is you wish to do to her, would you please, would you take this and give it back? But make sure she knows that I had nothing to do with stealing it. I merely ensured its safekeeping.
Of course, Your Majesty.
And Rollo bows low and gets on her knees and shuffles forward and holds her hands up to receive the book.
are you wearing the brooch?
Yes.
As you shuffle forward, he sees this.
I very much like your brooch. You have done a good service to a member of my court to have received such an honor.
Yes, we were in the building where where Duke was, and there were little fire sprites that were trying to set the building on fire, and we helped him put them out.
Oh, yes. Well, that is a great aid to my soggy court. That was all part of Sir Talavar's daring escape. Well, I must warn you that only members of the soggy court are allowed to speak with Bavlorna. But we can take care of it. It's merely a formality. If you would allow me to induct you into the soggy court, you would be official members and therefore have the right to speak with her.
What sort of obligation comes with being a member of the Soggy Court?
You pledge your allegiance to King Gollum the 19th, and you speak on my behalf to Bavlorna.
So ambassadors.
Ambassador, yes, I like the sound of that. Ambassadors of King Gollum the 19th, yes.
May we confer for a moment, Your Majesty?
Absolutely.
And Rollo will back up on her knees and then stand once she's about 10 feet away and take 3 steps back and then turn to face the group.
Okay, so here is problem. If we swear, and then things go bad and we attack, that falls on his shoulders, right?
And she looks to Cantriel.
Yes, but quite frankly, his head and his shoulders may not be attached much longer. It's a short-termed agreement at the rate they go.
But it's also a scenario of what is the extent of our loyalty
Right.
to this court?
Is there a magical consequence?
Swearing oaths here seems very
They're
dangerous.
binding.
It's
Did you get the
I
feeling he was telling the truth when he said only members of the Soggy Court can speak to Pavlorna?
what do you think? What do you think there, Jake? Did he seem straight and narrow?
Roll insight.
I wonder if he's just trying to leverage us.
30-20.
Ooh, nice.
You get the sense that he might be stretching the truth a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's
So maybe we come
it's
back.
possible.
Sorry.
possible that he might have been trying to see what he might be able to get out on us more by
Mm-hmm.
pulling it a little bit.
So maybe we counter with he can temporarily empower us to speak on his behalf, but we don't have to join the court.
Mm.
I mean, that would-
I got this.
That would certainly make me more at ease.
Likewise,
Rolo,
I'm not joining a frog court.
Rolo turns back around and approaches, and when she gets about 5 feet away, she genuflects again.
Oh, great and mighty king. We have discussed this gift that you have offered us. But we fear that we might misstep, not being familiar with the ways and customs of these lands, and we would hate for our misstep to become your problem. So, with that, perhaps you could provide us a writ of business to conduct specifically on your behalf with returning the book.
Make a persuasion check.
Rerolling. My dice are not doing well for me tonight. Okay, there we go. 17.
With this writ, you will represent King Gollop the 19th in my court?
Yes,
You will empower us to speak on your behalf and deal with Pavlorna. And that should be sufficient. No need for us to burden your court further with our continued presence.
Yes, this will do nicely, please. You, scribe, see to it that the writ is drawn up, post haste, and this book must find its way into Pavlorna's hands as quickly as possible. Please make it happen.
And
it will be our honor.
and one of the scribes quickly begins writing down all of this information. You see him scribbling away, and brings over the piece of parchment to King Gollop the 19th, who takes the quill, and you just see this big flourish as he signs it.
Yes, immediately.
And the scribe hands the piece of paper to you, Rolo.
Rolo again bows and backs up 5 feet and turns around and hands it to Cantriel.
Cantriel,
Yes.
as Rolo hands the papers to you, you see that the document is simple but elegantly written and does exactly as it was said. I imagine you take a good look at it, a lawyerly look, if you will, and it seems very straightforward. There is no flourishing language or anything deceptive about it. It just names Rolo and companions of the Dawnbringers as official emissaries of the Soggy Court and King Gullup the 19th. However, there is another piece of paper that the scribe had passed to Rollo, and that Rollo then passed to you. And this piece of paper, as you're looking over and you see the second piece of paper, you move the writ of emissary to the side. You see written on this next piece of paper, "Find Illig, the Baron of Muckstump, at once. The revolution lives." And that is where we are going to end tonight's session.
Dear God.
Oh my god!
Oh no.
We've been roped into Bullywug Civil War!
Next session, we play Bullywug Kingmaker.
It's the
I
French
love
court and it's a bunch of
bullywugs.
frogs.
I was going to say, at no point in all of our 6 seasons of Dawnbringers have we really delved into political intrigue until you get to the
Doing it
Feywild
with
and a
friggin'
Bullywug Court.
frogs.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
I love it so much.
King Gullup is very much was unintentionally, until I started speaking, apparently bottled on I can't think of what his name is now, from Star Wars
Boss
Episode
Nass.
1. Yeah, Boss Nass.
Nice. Nice.
As soon as I started speaking, I'm like, well, okay, well, he's Boss Nass.
We're going with this.
Yeah. All right. A lot
Absolutely
of
brilliant.
little vignettes as you travel through Downfall in this session. And you have a little ways to go to continue your way around to fulfill your emissary duties. All right, yeah. So, that was a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. As you may have noticed, we have shortened our Dawnbringer sessions so that we're now ending roughly around 11. And that's because me, your humble DM, is getting old and doesn't want to stay up late anymore. No, I really enjoy these, but I really do like the shorter sessions. I think it makes for a tighter session. And this was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun little interactions. And we'll do it again next week. In the meantime, tomorrow night you can tune in to Nerdarchy Live, where you will find Dungeon Master Ted leading myself and the rest of the Chaos crew through Untraditionally Arcane, where we play untraditional wizards.
And if that's not enough, not only is it April 1st, but it's also going to be session number 13. I'm going to walk around with some illusions. So come and join us and have some fun.
Yep, it's gonna be a lot of fun. And then yeah, we got a lot of your usual shows coming up. Tune in on Monday nights for Scribes and Scrolls. Sunday afternoons we've got Star Wars The Shadowport Adventures going on. And then we did have to, because we've been talking about it, we did postpone episode 1 of our next Mythos Adventures. The debut on MTD is being postponed to May. I think we're looking at May 9th, I believe, as the premiere of that, which is going to be our friend Carrie's first time mastering any game. She has custom writ a trilogy for our next Call of Cthulhu Mythos, and it's going to be a Western. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. So
Hey, can I promote something?
Absolutely.
This Sunday on D4, which is on twitch.tv/D4RPG at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have a very special guest this week. The wonderful KP of KP Studios is going to be joining us in studio. It is a in-person game, and we are super excited to have him. So he is a phenomenal role player and a wonderful person. And if you are free, I strongly recommend tuning in.
Awesome. Yes. So check that out. We are going to get out of here in just a moment. I think we're going to send a raid over to Pleasantly Twisted, who is playing some Elden Ring. So thank you to everybody who has tuned in tonight, whether you're watching live or you're catching this on VOD. VODs are available on youtube.com/mini-terrain-domain. If you are somebody that likes to lurk silently in the chat, we thank you just as much, and we appreciate you. We hope you enjoy the show. And, of course, as always, a huge thank you to these amazing players, V, Dan, M, Ted, Katie, and even though he's not with us tonight, Jeremy, without whom it would just be me talking to myself for a couple hours. With that, we're going to go ahead and end the stream the same way we end every stream, and you can say it with me if you want.
Frog butts.
Horny frog heads.